Hello, interested everyone. As you all know that the CBSE examination this year will be conducted in two parts. The Term 1 examination covering the first half of the syllabus will be conducted in mid-November this year, and the Term 2 examination covering the second half of the syllabus will be conducted in March next year. And for the Term 1 examination, CBSE has already released sample papers of different subjects on their official website. Now, these sample papers are very important tools for both the students as well as teachers in preparation for the actual examination. These sample papers makes students and teachers aware about what kind of questions they can expect during the actual examination. I therefore downloaded the sample paper for my biology subject and I forwarded that to my students. And I asked them to go through each question one by one and find out the supporting materials for the correct answer of each question from their NCERT textbook. While doing that, some of my students they found out questions which were really confusing. For example, the first question itself, it says the structure of bilobed anther consists of. Options are given over here. Now, before we go through the options, let us look at the question. The structure of bilobed anther consists of how many thecae and how many sporangia? Now, if we go and look at our NCERT textbook, this particular paragraph contains the answer. Now, look, by reading the first sentence, we will figure out how many theca are there. And looking at the last sentence, we will find out how many microsporangia are there. Now, the first sentence says that a typical angiosperm anther is bilobed. This particular term means an anther of an angiosperm, it contains two lobes. The literal meaning of bilobed means two lobes. That is fine. Now, each lobe have two theca. That is, they are dithecous. What inference can we draw from this particular statement? It says that a typical angiosperm anther is bilobed, two lobes, and each lobe has got two theca. That means the angiosperm anther contains four theca. Two theca for each lobe. There are two lobes in the anther. That means four theca. And four microsporangia. Now, according to this particular paragraph, the correct option should be B. But in the marking scheme for the sample paper, it is written that the correct answer is D, 2 thecae and 4 sporangia. Now, this really creates a confusion for both myself as well as my students. Ultimately, we have to find out the correct answer for this particular question. Googling this particular question, I found out that a typical anther is actually dithecal. That means an anther has got two thecae with 4 microsporangia. That means the CBSE marking scheme for the sample paper is right. The correct option is D, 2 thecae and 4 microsporangia. But then, what about the information provided in our NCERT textbook, which we use as a reference, which we use for the preparation of the examination? Now, there are two conclusions that we can draw from this particular confusion. Either NCERT textbook is correct and CBSE sample paper as well as the information provided in the Google are wrong. Or we can express our audacity and say that NCERT textbook is wrong and the information needs to be updated within the textbook as soon as possible. These are the two conclusions that I can draw regarding this particular conclusion or this particular confusion. Now, the second question which created confusion for us was question number 6 of section A. It says, which of the following statements are correct with respect to hormones secreted by placenta? What are the hormones secreted by placenta? That's the question. Now there are four statements given over here, and the correct answer given in the marking scheme for the sample paper is option A. It says that the statement 1 and statement 4 are correct. Statement 1 says placenta secretes relaxin during later stage of pregnancy, and the statement number 4 says placenta secretes human chorionic gonadotrophin and human placental lactogen during pregnancy. The correct option is said to be A. So let us find out the supporting material from our NCERT textbook. Now, looking at this particular paragraph in our textbook, we can see over here this particular statement. Placenta also acts as an endocrine tissue and produces several hormones like HCG, HPL, estrogens, progestogens, etc. So the statement 4 is correct. Human chorionic gonadotrophin, human placental lactogen, both the names are there in this particular statement. Now, regarding relaxin, this particular statement says that in the later phase of pregnancy, a hormone called relaxin is also secreted by the ovary. Now, here, the textbook says the relaxin hormone is secreted by the ovary in the later phase of pregnancy. Now, here the question is about the function of placenta. But in the statement in the textbook, it says the ovary secretes relaxin during the later phase of pregnancy, not the placenta. Now, this created confusion. Now, if you Google for information regarding this particular question, you will find that placenta also secretes relaxin during the later stage of pregnancy. So, A is the correct option, but if we refer only to NCERT textbook, we cannot find out the correct option. Now, either in the NCERT textbook, they mistyped placenta as ovary, or the CBSE, the people who set the CBSE question sample paper, they expect us to learn more than what is provided in the NCERT textbook. Now, the third question, which created confusion for us, was question number 41. It says genotypic ratio of 1:2:1 is obtained in a cross between, options are given over here, 4 crosses are given, and the correct option is said to be B. Now, this is really confusing, right? And I am really sure that this particular question is wrong. Why? Because if we solve each of the crosses one by one, we find that except for C, all the other crosses gives the genotypic ratio of 1:2:1. To confirm that, I have done the crosses over here. So this is A, cross B, cross C, and cross D. If you look at cross A, B, and D, we find that all of them gives the genotypic ratio of the next generation, right, in 1:2:1. So 1:2:1. Here also 1:2:1. Here also 1:2:1. So all these three options are giving the ratio in 1:2:1. So now which are we supposed to select? Except for C, which does not give the ratio in 1:2:1. This particular ratio comes as 1:1:1:1. All the other options are correct. Except for C, all the options are correct. So now that's why I'm saying this particular question is wrong. Now these type of questions really creates confusion among the students because they try to solve it, right? So these are some of the questions that I found problematic within the sample paper. Other questions are, I think, pretty straightforward, and my students, they didn't complain about the questions. That's all. Thank you.